What would you do if the person you gave your whole life to suddenly left you for someone younger after all your years of sacrifice and love?
Luke and his wife Acheng lived in a small town of Mbeta. They had been married for more than 30 years. Luke worked in the local government office while Acheng was a primary school teacher. They were an averagely better family in Mbeta town. They had 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. They worked hard to raise them well. Even when money was little, they made sure the children went to school, they ate food, and wore clean clothes. They believed that one day the children would grow up and have better lives. Their home was always full of love and peace. The children grew up respectful, prayerful, and hardworking. As the years went by, the children started to grow up and succeed. Tommy, the firstborn, became a nurse. Linda became a teacher. Kevin worked as an electrician. And the last 2, Brian and Opio, were still in school. By the time Luke was 57 years old, Acheng believed their hard days were over. She thought they would now enjoy their life together as husband and wife. The children were growing, some already working, and life was beginning to be better. She looked forward to spending quiet evenings with her husband and visiting the children. But something unexpected happened. Luke began to change. He came home late and did not talk to Acheng like before. He always said he had work meetings, but Acheng felt something was wrong. One day, Luke told her the truth. He had married another woman. Her name was Ruth, and she was younger than Acheng. Acheng was shocked. She cried and asked Luke, "Why? After everything we have been through together?" Luke only said, "Ruth makes me feel young again. I need someone with fresh energy, and it's nothing against you." But for Acheng, it was a deep wound. She had given him her whole life, struggled raising their children with him, and sacrificed all her happiness so they would finally have more happy times for themselves when their children are grown. She felt pain in her heart, and she could not believe what was happening. The children were also shocked. They could not understand how their father could marry another wife at that age, abandoning their mom after all these years. But they did not stay much. They stayed quiet, trying not to cause more problems. Acheng felt lonely in her heart, and soon, Ruth came to live in the house, and things changed quickly. Ruth started causing problems. She said Acheng was jealous of her looking young and beautiful, and told Luke that the children did not like her either. She said bad things about Acheng and made the home full of arguments and tension. The happy home that Luke and Acheng had built for many years was now full of pain and silence. After Ruth moved into the house, everything started to change. Luke no longer spoke kindly to Acheng. He stayed in the living room with Ruth, laughing and talking and watching Ruth's favorite TV series while Acheng sat alone in the bedroom or kitchen. Her work was to watch television while Acheng cooked, washed, or the children did the rest of the house chores. She became Luke's favorite person in the house. The children noticed that things were not the same. Ruth acted like she owned the house. She gave orders, moved things around, and told Acheng what to do and even what she wants to eat in the house. She told her how Luke chose her over Acheng because of her beauty, intelligence, and how young she is. She can also handle him better in bed than Acheng. Acheng tried to stay calm. She didn't want to fight. She remembered the years she spent with Luke, raising their children, struggling with school fees, sleeping hungry, yet staying together. It hurt her so deeply, but she chose to be silent and strong. Ruth was not finished. She went to Luke and said, "Your children don't like me. They talk behind my back. They're planning to push me out of this home." Luke started believing her lies. He began to look at his children differently. When Tommy tried to talk to him, he shouted, "You people are ungrateful. I have a right to live my life the way I want and with whoever I want." The one man who was once respectful, prayerful, and walked with integrity has now become the devil. The children were hurt. They had never disrespected their father, but now he was treating them like enemies. They began to avoid him, and the house grew quiet. Acheng's heart broke even more when she saw her husband turning away from his children they had once raised together. One night, Ruth told Luke, "I can't live here anymore. I feel unwanted. Let's leave this place and start a new life elsewhere where we can have peace, just the two of us." Luke agreed. Without saying goodbye to his children and wife, he packed his bags and left with Ruth. They went to a town far away and rented a small house, and they traveled back to Mbeta for work. The once full and warm family home was now left to Acheng and the children. It was a painful time, but Acheng did not give up. Her elder children, Tommy, Linda, and Kevin, now had jobs. They comforted their mother and promised to stand by her. They continued to pay school fees for Brian and Opio and helped their mother with food and bills. Even though their father had left, the family stayed united. The family prayed every day for Luke, asking God to open his eyes and bring him back someday. In the new town where Luke and Ruth moved, life seemed peaceful at first. They rented a small house. Ruth was always smiling and sweet to Luke. She cooked his favorite meals, gave him attention, and even treated him kindly in the bedroom. Luke felt like he had made the right choice. After some time, Ruth gave birth to a baby boy. Luke was excited and proud to be father again, even at his age. He believed he had started a new family that would bring him joy in his old age. But deep inside, something still felt empty. He missed the laughter of his grown children. He missed Acheng's calm voice, her prayers, and the way she used to sit next to him every evening. Luke was now 65 years old. After years of working in local government, he received his retirement pension. It was a large sum of $30,000. He smiled and looked at the money in his account. "At last, I can rest and enjoy life with my dear family," he thought. When Ruth saw the pension money had entered, her behavior changed quickly. She became even more loving and caring. She treated Luke like a king. She helped him bathe, massaged his feet, and laughed at his jokes. Luke was surprised, but happy. But all this was a trick. Ruth quietly asked Luke to show her how to use his phone for banking. He trusted her, so he shared his bank PIN. One night, while Luke was asleep, Ruth took his phone and transferred all the money from his account. She packed her bags and left with their son before sunrise. When Luke woke up, the house was empty. He called her name again and again, but there was no answer. He checked the bathroom, the kitchen, the bedroom, the washroom, nothing. Then he saw a message on his phone. The bank account was empty. Every cent was gone. His legs trembled in shock, and he dropped to the floor. My God, what have I done? The shock was too much for him. He collapsed and lay there for hours until a neighbor who had come to check on them found him on the floor and rushed him to a nearby clinic. Luke survived, but he had no money now, no one to help him. He went to the bank so her accounts could be frozen, but she was smart enough to move the money into crypto. No trace of any transactions was possible. He could not find Ruth anywhere. Her phone was off, her social media accounts deleted. She had disappeared like smoke in the wind. After being discharged from the clinic, Luke had nowhere to go. He could not pay rent, he had no food, he had no money to survive. He walked slowly, leaning on a stick, and went to the home of an old friend named Josh, who lived in the same town. Josh was shocked to see the once proud and respected Luke in such a state. His clothes were worn out, and his eyes were full of shame and sadness. "What happened, my brother?" Luke could barely speak. He sat down and told Josh everything. How he left his wife Acheng, how Ruth tricked him, and how he lost all his pension money. Josh listened silently and said, "You can stay here for now, but you need to tell your family. They are your only true people." Luke shook his head. "I can't. After what I did to them, I don't deserve their help. Days passed. Luke stayed with Josh, but his health continued to worsen. He lost weight, he often cried at night, and his blood pressure went high because of stress. And one morning, he collapsed again. Josh rushed him to the hospital. The doctor said he needed care, but it would be expensive for Josh. Josh looked at Luke sadly and said, "Brother, I want to help, but I don't have enough money. You have to call your family." With a trembling hand, Luke took Josh's phone and called Acheng. He had not spoken to her in years. When she picked up the phone, he was silent for a moment. Then he said in a weak voice, "Acheng, it's Luke." Acheng froze. "Luke? Where are you?" "I'm in the hospital, and I have no money. I'm sick, and I'm sorry," he said while crying. She didn't say much. She ended the call and gathered the children. They talked and prayed, then traveled to the hospital where Luke was admitted. When they saw him lying on the hospital bed looking small and broken, their hearts were broken. Luke began to cry. "I'm sorry. I left all of you. I betrayed you. I don't deserve your love. I should die." But Acheng held his hand with tears in her eyes. "Luke, we have been praying for this day. You're still part of this family. We never stopped loving you." His children surrounded the bed. Tommy, Linda, Kevin, Brian, and Opio all stood there with tears in their eyes. "We forgive you, Papa," Tommy said. "We always wanted our family to be whole again. No matter what you did, there's no father who can take your place. You always remain our dad." Luke cried loudly, falling on his knees, and the family lifted him up with love. After the hospital released Luke, the family returned home together. He sat quietly in the back of the car, holding Acheng's hand. It had been years since he last saw the village, the dusty roads, and the old mango tree near the gate. When they arrived, he looked at the house he once left behind. Nothing much had changed, but now looked brighter, warmer, because love still lived there. Acheng helped him into the house. The children brought in his bags, made his bed, and served him food. That night, Luke sat with his family for dinner, with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "I don't deserve this kindness, but you gave it to me." His children smiled. "What matters is that you're back. We're a family." In the days that followed, Luke slowly recovered. He spent time in the garden with Brian. Opio often brought him his medicine. Linda read his Bible verses, and Tommy made sure he attended every doctor's appointment. Acheng cooked his favorite meals and prayed with him every night. One morning, Luke sat under the mango tree with Acheng. The sun was warm and the wind was gentle. "I was blind," he said softly. "I chased a dream that wasn't real. And I hurt you. I hurt the children. But you never turned your back on me." Acheng nodded. Marriage is not about running when things are hard. It's about standing strong even when our hearts are broken. "I forgave you a long time ago, Luke. I only waited for you to come back." Luke wiped his eyes. "Thank you for keeping the family together. You are the true strength of this home." Years passed. Luke never saw Ruth again, but he didn't care. He had already found what he had lost: his family, his peace, and the love of the woman who never gave up on him. And so, in that quiet town of Betrayal, where everything had once fallen apart, the family of Luke and Acheng was whole again. Not perfect, but strong, because they chose to love over anger, forgiveness over pain, and unity over pride. Thanks for watching. And if you've enjoyed this video, we have got another video for you to watch up next on the screen. And also consider subscribing to our channel so you don't miss any video that we post. Until then, we'll see you in our next video.